Elderly woman gets mocked by bikers, but her husband is watching. In the heart of a charming countryside town, the local market buzzed with activity. Amidst the vibrant stalls and friendly faces, Libeth Gray, a beloved elderly woman, meandered through the crowd. Her warm smile and kind eyes drew people to her, as she stopped to chat with vendors and select the freshest produce. Libeth's presence brought a sense of comfort and familiarity to the market, her gentle demeanor a testament to the years of wisdom she carried. As Libeth made her way through the stalls, a distant rumble grew louder. The Black Hornets, a notorious group of bikers led by the arrogant Logan Viper Hayes, rolled into the market, their engines roaring and their laughter cutting through the air. The locals exchanged uneasy glances, their peaceful afternoon disrupted by the unwelcome presence. Viper and his gang dismounted their bikes, swaggering through the market with an air of superiority. They scoffed at the humble stalls and the hard-working people who ran them, their mocking laughter echoing through the crowd. As they approached Libeth, who struggled to carry her heavy grocery bags, their eyes glinted with cruel amusement. Unbeknownst to the bikers, a figure watched from the shadows. Walter Gray, Libeth's husband, observed the scene unfolding before him. His calm exterior belied the strength and determination that lay beneath, forged through years of serving as a respected federal prosecutor. Walter had faced far more dangerous criminals than these bikers, and he knew the power of wisdom over brute force. As the bikers closed in on Libeth, their taunts growing louder, Walter stepped forward, ready to intervene. He knew that this moment would be a turning point, not only for his beloved wife but for the entire town. With a steady gaze and a resolute heart, Walter prepared to confront the bikers, determined to teach them a lesson they would never forget. Walter approached the group of bikers, his steps measured and purposeful. The air around him seemed to shift, the market falling silent as all eyes turned to the elderly man who dared to stand against the Black Hornets. Viper, the leader of the gang, locked eyes with Walter, his sneer faltering for a brief moment as he sensed the quiet strength emanating from the older man. "Is there a problem here, gentlemen?" Walter asked, his voice calm and steady. He placed a gentle hand on Libeth's shoulder, a simple gesture that spoke volumes of his love and protection. Viper let out a derisive laugh, his bravado returning. "Look at this, boys. The old man thinks he can play hero." The other bikers joined in, their laughter harsh and mocking. Walter remained unfazed, his gaze unwavering. "I suggest you show some respect, young man. This is a peaceful community, and we don't take kindly to those who seek to disrupt it." Viper stepped forward, his eyes narrowing. "And who are you to tell us what to do, old-timer? You don't know who you're dealing with." A flicker of recognition crossed the face of one of the older bikers, a man named Razor. He had been part of the gang for decades and had seen his fair share of trouble. As he studied Walter's face, a memory tugged at the back of his mind, a name he had heard whispered in the shadows of the criminal underworld. "Wait, Viper," Razor said, his voice low and cautious. "I think I know who this is. He's Walter Gray, the federal prosecutor who took down the Russo crime family years ago." Viper's eyes widened, a mix of surprise and unease crossing his features. He had heard the stories, the tales of a man who had stood against the most dangerous criminals and emerged victorious. In that moment, Viper realized that he might have underestimated the unassuming elderly man before him. As the revelation of Walter's identity sank in, the atmosphere in the market shifted. The bikers exchanged uneasy glances, their earlier bravado replaced by a growing sense of uncertainty. Viper, however, refused to back down, his pride overriding his better judgment. "I don't care who he is," Viper sneered, his eyes flashing with defiance. "He's just an old man now, and we're not going to let him tell us what to do." Walter shook his head, a hint of disappointment in his eyes. "Son, I've faced men far more dangerous than you. Men who thought they were untouchable, who believed that fear and intimidation could grant them power. But in the end, justice always prevailed." The younger bikers, who had joined the gang seeking adventure and a sense of belonging, began to shift uncomfortably. They had never seen their leader challenged in such a way, and the calm assurance in Walter's voice made them question their own choices. Libeth, who had remained silent throughout the exchange, stepped forward, her head held high. You young men have a choice to make, she said, her voice gentle yet firm. You can continue down this path of disrespect and cruelty, or you can learn from the wisdom of those who have lived and seen more than you can imagine. Viper's gaze darted between Walter and Libeth, his resolve wavering. He had always relied on his tough exterior to mask his own insecurities, but now, faced with the quiet strength of the elderly couple, he felt exposed and vulnerable. In that moment, a flicker of doubt crossed Viper's face. He had built his reputation on being feared and respected, but standing before Walter and Libeth, he began to question the very foundation of his leadership. The seeds of change had been planted, and it was up to Viper to decide whether he would allow them to take root or continue down the path of arrogance and intimidation. As the tension mounted, the market spectators held their breath, waiting to see how the confrontation would unfold. Walter, his eyes locked on Viper, spoke once more, his words measured and profound. There's a lesson to be learned here, Walter said, his voice carrying across the silent market. Respect and wisdom are not earned through fear or force, but through the strength of one's character. It's never too late to change, to choose a different path. Viper's gaze wavered, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. He had always believed that power came from intimidation, but now, faced with the unwavering resolve of Walter and Libeth, he began to question his own convictions. The younger bikers, sensing the shift in their leader's demeanor, exchanged glances. They had joined the Black Hornets seeking a sense of belonging, but now they saw the cracks in the foundation of their brotherhood. Walter extended his hand, a gesture of reconciliation. Walk away from this, son. Choose a life of honor and integrity, and you'll find that true strength lies within. Viper hesitated, his pride warring with the glimmer of hope that Walter's words had ignited. He looked to his fellow bikers, searching for guidance, but found only confusion and doubt in their eyes. In that moment, a choice had to be made. Would Viper cling to his old ways, or would he seize the opportunity for redemption? As the sun began to set over the market, casting a warm glow across the faces of the gathered crowd, the stage was set for a transformation. The seeds of change had been sown, and it was up to each individual to decide whether they would nurture those seeds or let them wither away. Walter and Libeth stood tall, their love and wisdom a beacon of hope in the face of adversity. They had faced the darkness and emerged unscathed, their strength a testament to the power of unwavering faith and the indomitable human spirit. In the days that followed the confrontation at the market, a subtle change began to ripple through the town. The story of Walter and Libeth's bravery spread like wildfire, inspiring others to stand up against injustice and to embrace the power of compassion. The Black Hornets, once a symbol of fear and intimidation, found themselves at a crossroads. Some, like Viper, grappled with the weight of Walter's words, questioning the very foundation of their existence. Others, too set in their ways, scoffed at the idea of change and clung to their old habits. Amidst this turmoil, a young biker named Levi emerged as a voice of reason. He had joined the gang seeking acceptance, but now, witnessing the impact of Walter and Libeth's actions, he saw a different path. Levi approached Viper, his eyes filled with determination. "We can't go on like this," he said, his voice steady. "We have a chance to be better, to make a difference. We've been given a gift, Viper. A chance to start over." Viper, torn between his pride and the growing realization that change was necessary, looked at Levi with a mix of uncertainty and respect. "What do you propose?" he asked, his voice gruff but tinged with curiosity. Levi took a deep breath, knowing that his next words could shape the future of the gang. "We start by making amends," he said. "We apologize to those we've wronged, and we find ways to give back to the community. We show them that we're more than just a bunch of thugs on bikes." As Levi's words hung in the air, the other bikers began to murmur amongst themselves. Some nodded in agreement, while others remained skeptical, their loyalty to the old ways too deeply ingrained. Viper, his gaze distant, considered Levi's proposal. He knew that change would not come easily, that it would require sacrifice and a willingness to confront the demons of their past. But as he looked at the faces of his fellow bikers, he saw a glimmer of hope, a chance for redemption. In the weeks that followed, the Black Hornets began to transform, their actions guided by the wisdom imparted by Walter and Libeth. Levi took the lead, organizing community service projects and encouraging his fellow bikers to use their skills for good. At first, the townspeople were wary, their trust in the bikers shattered by years of intimidation and disrespect. But as they watched the gang members work tirelessly to repair buildings, volunteer at local charities, and engage in acts of kindness, their hearts began to soften. Libeth, ever the nurturer, took it upon herself to guide the bikers on their path to redemption. She invited them to her home, treating them with the same warmth and respect she showed to everyone. Over cups of tea and homemade meals, she listened to their stories, offering advice and encouragement when needed. Walter, too, played a crucial role in the gang's transformation. He shared his experiences as a prosecutor, teaching the bikers about the consequences of their actions and the importance of integrity. He showed them that true strength came from within, from the courage to stand up for what was right. As the bond between the bikers and the town grew stronger, Viper found himself at a personal crossroads. He had always seen himself as a leader, but now, faced with the positive changes in his gang, he began to question his own role. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Viper sought out Walter. He found the elderly man sitting on his porch, a book in hand and a serene expression on his face. "I don't know if I'm cut out for this," Viper admitted, his voice raw with emotion. "I've spent so long being the tough guy, the one everyone feared. I don't know how to be anything else." Walter smiled, his eyes filled with understanding. "Leadership isn't about fear, son," he said. "It's about inspiring others to be their best selves, about guiding them with wisdom and compassion. You have the potential to be a great leader, Viper. You just have to believe in yourself." As the months passed, the Black Hornets continued to make strides in their personal growth and community involvement. Viper, taking Walter's words to heart, began to lead by example, encouraging his fellow bikers to embrace the values of respect and integrity. One day, as the gang gathered at the local community center, Levi proposed an idea that would put their newfound purpose to the test. "I think we should organize a charity ride," he said, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "We can raise money for the children's hospital and show everyone that we're not just bikers, but a force for good." The idea was met with enthusiasm, and the gang threw themselves into the planning process. They reached out to local businesses for sponsorships, designed custom jerseys, and mapped out a scenic route that would take them through the heart of the countryside. On the day of the ride, the town gathered to see the bikers off. Libeth and Walter, beaming with pride, stood at the front of the crowd, their hearts filled with joy at the sight of the transformed gang. As the engines roared to life and the bikers set off, a sense of unity and purpose filled the air. The Black Hornets, once a symbol of fear, had become a beacon of hope, their journey a testament to the power of second chances. Along the route, the bikers encountered challenges and moments of doubt, but they faced them together, drawing strength from the bonds they had forged. They stopped at local landmarks, sharing stories and laughter, their camaraderie a shining example of the transformative power of love and understanding. As they rode through the winding roads, the bikers reflected on the changes they had undergone. They had started as individuals, each carrying their own burdens and fears, but now they were a family, united by a common goal and a shared sense of purpose. And at the heart of it all were Walter and Libeth, the catalysts of change, whose unwavering faith and wisdom had set them on the path to redemption. The charity ride was a resounding success, raising thousands of dollars for the children's hospital and earning the Black Hornets widespread acclaim. The townspeople, once wary of the bikers, now greeted them with warmth and respect, their perceptions forever altered by the gang's selfless acts. In the aftermath of the ride, Viper found himself reflecting on the journey that had brought him to this point. He thought back to the day he had first encountered Walter and Libeth, the moment that had set him on the path to change. As he sat on the steps of the community center, lost in thought, Libeth approached him, a gentle smile on her face. "You've come a long way, Viper," she said, taking a seat beside him. "I'm proud of the man you've become." Viper looked at her, his eyes filled with gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without you and Walter," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You showed me that there was another way, that I could be more than just a thug on a bike." Libeth placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch a comforting presence. You always had it in you, Viper, she said. Sometimes, it just takes someone to believe in you, to help you see the light within yourself. As they sat together, the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the town. Viper knew that the road ahead would not be easy, that there would be challenges and setbacks, but he also knew that he was not alone. He had his fellow bikers, his brothers in arms, who would stand by his side through thick and thin. And he had Walter and Libeth, the guiding lights who had shown him the way. With a renewed sense of purpose and a heart full of hope, Viper stood up, ready to face whatever the future held. He knew that, together, they could overcome any obstacle, and that the legacy of the Black Hornets would be one of redemption, courage, and unwavering love. As the seasons changed and the years passed, the Black Hornets continued to thrive, their commitment to the community growing stronger with each passing day. They became a fixture in the town, their presence a symbol of hope and resilience. Levi, inspired by the gang's transformation, decided to pursue a career in social work, dedicating his life to helping others find their path to redemption. He worked tirelessly, using his own experiences to guide those who had lost their way, his compassion and understanding a beacon of light in the darkness. Viper, too, found a new calling. He began to share his story, speaking at schools and community events, his words a testament to the power of second chances. He spoke of the mistakes he had made, of the darkness that had once consumed him, but also of the hope that had saved him, the love that had shown him the way. As the town watched the Black Hornets grow and evolve, they began to see themselves in a new light. They saw that change was possible, that even the most unlikely of heroes could emerge from the shadows. And at the center of it all, Walter and Libeth remained, their love and wisdom a constant presence in the lives of all those they touched. They continued to open their home and their hearts to the bikers, their unwavering faith a reminder that hope could be found in even the darkest of places. One evening, as the gang gathered at the Gray's home for a celebratory dinner, Walter raised his glass, his eyes shining with pride. "To family," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "To the bonds that hold us together, to the love that guides us home." As the glasses clinked and the laughter echoed through the room, the bikers knew that they had found something precious, something that could never be taken away. They had found a sense of belonging, a purpose that went beyond the roar of engines and the rush of the open road. They had found a family, a community that would stand by them through the good times and the bad. As the night wore on and the stories flowed, Libeth watched the scene before her, her heart full to bursting. She saw the smiles on the faces of the bikers, the light in their eyes, and she knew that this was what life was all about. It was about the moments of connection, the shared laughter and tears, the love that bound them all together. It was about the journey, the twists and turns that led them to where they were meant to be. And as she looked at Walter, his hand clasped tightly in hers, she knew that their love had been the catalyst for it all. Their unwavering faith and compassion had set in motion a chain of events that had changed lives, that had brought hope to those who had once known only darkness. As the evening drew to a close and the bikers bid their farewells, Libeth and Walter stood on the porch, watching as the headlights disappeared into the night. They knew that the road ahead would not be easy, that there would be challenges and obstacles to overcome. But they also knew that they had each other, and that together, they could face anything. With a smile on her face and love in her heart, Libeth turned to Walter, ready to embrace whatever the future held. For in that moment, she knew that they had already found paradise, right there in the warmth of each other's arms. Years later, as the town gathered to celebrate the anniversary of the Black Hornet's transformation, the air was filled with a sense of nostalgia and reflection. The bikers, now older and wiser, looked back on their journey with a mix of pride and gratitude. Viper, his once jet black hair now streaked with silver, stood at the podium, his eyes scanning the crowd. He saw the faces of those who had stood by him, who had believed in him when he couldn't believe in himself. "We've come a long way," he said, his voice steady and strong. "But we didn't do it alone. We had the love and guidance of two extraordinary people, two souls who saw the light within us when all we could see was darkness." He turned to Walter and Libeth, his eyes glistening with tears. "You showed us the power of compassion, the strength that comes from opening our hearts to others. You taught us that redemption is possible, that no matter how far we've fallen, we can always find our way back home. As the crowd erupted in applause, Walter and Libeth stood hand in hand, their faces etched with the wisdom of a lifetime. They had seen the world change before their eyes, had watched as the seeds of hope they had planted took root and blossomed. And as they looked out at the sea of faces before them, they knew that their legacy would live on, that the love and compassion they had shared would continue to ripple outward, touching lives for generations to come. For in the end, that was what mattered most. Not the accolades or the recognition, but the knowledge that they had made a difference, that they had left the world a little brighter than they had found it. As the celebration continued late into the night, Walter and Libeth slipped away, their hearts full and their spirits soaring. They had lived a life of purpose, a life filled with love and meaning, and they knew that, in the end, that was the greatest gift of all. In the quiet moments that followed, Walter and Libeth found themselves sitting on the porch swing, the gentle breeze carrying the distant sounds of laughter and music. They sat in comfortable silence, their hands intertwined, their hearts beating as one. "Do you remember the day we first met?" Libeth asked, her voice soft and tender. Walter smiled, his eyes lost in the memories of a lifetime. "How could I forget?" he said. "You were the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen, standing there in the sunlight, your hair blowing in the wind." Libeth leaned her head on his shoulder, a contented sigh escaping her lips. "And you were the most handsome man I'd ever laid eyes on," she said. "I knew right then and there that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with you." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of their love and the memories they had shared washing over them like a warm embrace. "We've had a good life, haven't we?" Walter said, his voice thick with emotion. Libeth nodded, her eyes shining with tears of joy. "The best," she said. "And it's not over yet. We still have so much more to give, so much more love to share." As they sat there, surrounded by the beauty of the night and the warmth of each other's presence, they knew that they had found the true meaning of life. It wasn't about the accolades or the achievements, but about the moments of connection, the love that bound them together. And as they looked out at the stars, they knew that their journey was far from over. They had more lives to touch, more hearts to heal, more hope to spread. With a smile on their faces and love in their hearts, Walter and Libeth held each other close, ready to face whatever the future held. For in that moment, they knew that they had already found heaven on earth, right there in the warmth of each other's embrace. As the years continued to pass, Walter and Libeth's influence on the town only grew stronger. Their love and compassion had become a beacon of hope, a shining example of what was possible when people opened their hearts to one another. The Black Hornets, once a symbol of fear and intimidation, had become a force for good, their members dedicating themselves to serving the community and spreading the message of redemption. They volunteered at local charities, mentored troubled youth, and used their skills to help those in need. And at the center of it all, Walter and Libeth remained, their unwavering faith and boundless love guiding them through every challenge and every triumph. One day, as they sat in their garden, surrounded by the blooming flowers and the gentle hum of bees, Libeth turned to Walter, a question in her eyes. "Do you ever wonder what our legacy will be?" she asked, her voice soft and thoughtful. Walter smiled, his hand reaching out to take hers. "Our legacy," he said, "will be the love we've shared, the lives we've touched, the hope we've inspired. It will be the ripples of kindness that continue to spread long after we're gone." Libeth nodded, her heart filled with a deep sense of peace. She knew that Walter was right, that their legacy would live on in the hearts and minds of all those they had touched. And as they sat there, surrounded by the beauty of the world they had helped to create, they knew that they had found the true meaning of life. It wasn't about the accolades or the achievements, but about the moments of connection, the love that bound them together. With a smile on their faces and love in their hearts, Walter and Libeth held each other close, ready to face whatever the future held. For in that moment, they knew that they had already found paradise, right there in the warmth of each other's arms, in the love that would endure long after they were gone. In the end, it was the small things that mattered most. The shared laughter over a cup of tea, the gentle touch of a hand, the knowing smile that said more than words ever could. Walter and Libeth had lived a life filled with love and purpose, a life dedicated to spreading hope and compassion wherever they went. And as they looked back on their journey, they knew that every moment, every challenge, every triumph, had been worth it. They had faced the darkness and emerged stronger, their love a beacon of light that had guided them through even the darkest of times. They had opened their hearts to others, had shared their wisdom and their grace, and in doing so, had touched countless lives. And now, as the sun began to set on their lives, they knew that they could rest easy, secure in the knowledge that their legacy would endure. They had seen the world change before their eyes, had watched as the seeds of hope they had planted took root and blossomed. They had seen the power of love and compassion, had witnessed the transformative impact of small acts of kindness. And as they sat together, their hands clasped tightly, their hearts beating as one, they knew that they had found the true meaning of life. It wasn't about the accolades or the achievements, but about the moments of connection, the love that bound them together. With a smile on their faces and love in their hearts, Walter and Libeth closed their eyes, ready to embrace the next adventure. For they knew that their journey was not ending, but merely beginning anew. And as they drifted off to sleep, surrounded by the warmth of each other's love, they knew that they had already found heaven on earth, right there in the quiet moments of a life well lived, in the love that would endure long after they were gone.